Hello there, dear listener. After an epic 2.5-year journey, we finally finished releasing The Enemy Within last week. We will be beginning our next massive campaign starting next week, as Maciej will lead Eddy, Bridgett, and myself through Masks of Nyarlathotep for Call of Cthulhu. As we prepare for that, we will this week give you a teaser episode of our $10 bonus campaign on Patreon, where we are playing Imperium Maledictum for Warhammer 40k. On this level on Patreon, we have also played through all of Rough Nights and Hard Days for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So if you're already hankering for more Warhammer adventures with Red Moon Roleplaying, head over on to our Patreon, back us on the $10 level, and help us keep this show going. Thank you, and here is the first episode of Imperium Maledictum for Warhammer 40k.
This is Red Moon Roleplaying.
Deep in the Segmentium Pacificus lies the Macarian sector, so named after the great Saint Macarius, by all accounts a legendary figure in the Imperium of Man, a mighty general, a mighty saint who claimed thousands of worlds in the name of the glorious Emperor, God Emperor of mankind. And so, of course, the sector was named after him. Even his tomb is considered now a holy world planet, Macaria. The sector once was highly prosperous. It paid its imperial tithes on time and was a mighty bastion of humanity. Such times are long since gone, and in the wake of the Noctis Eterna, some of that past glory is long gone. But perhaps it will return. It will depend on the inhabitants. For now, though, our story focuses on a small vagabond-class merchant trader by the name of the Blazing Moon, currently dropping out of warp in the Vol system. The Vol system is very close to the Persepolis system, where planet Persepolis lies, the sector capital of the Macarian sector. Inside this cargo hauler is not much. Vast empty cargo holds ready to collect precious chemicals from the planet Vol. Planet Vol is a hive world planet. A vast, extremely built-up industrial complex, dedicated primarily to the construction of extremely important chemicals vital in various medical and military uses. This is how it pays its tithe to the Emperor and the Empire. It all comes from the fact that the planet itself has some very interesting natural resources that have been long exploited to the fullest by the might of several of the imperial institutions that exist in the Imperium of Man. Merchant traders like this are simple. Yes, they have the capability to travel in the warp, but they have no astropaths, no navigators, and so must rely on short jumps on very particular safe routes. But luckily, this is one of those routes, and it only takes about a week or two for the ship to complete its cycle of the main capital of Persepolis and planet Vol. Ships such as this, though, do not merely take cargo, but sometimes passengers. Granted, passengers are rare, but there are some people in the Imperium who need to get from one planet to the other. Important members of various factions, important guilds leaders. This particular vessel is in fact chartered to the Mercator Lemon, or the Chem Guild of Vol, as would be known in more common speech. Inside, the crew number in their hundreds. Many of them will never leave this ship. There's no point. They live, they die in the void, serving the charter's captain who owns the vessel, who in turn serves the guild. But there are spaces for hundreds of passengers if needed, in various small hab units, small square rooms with 10 bunks, shutters to see outside. Not that you would while travelling through the warp, but maybe fun to look out the window as you descend to planetfall. Of course, the ship itself will never truly descend. Drop ships or drop cargo vessels make the final part of the journey. But in short, people could use a ship like this to travel space. Although travelling space is a luxury for most Imperial citizens will never know. After all, in the empire of man, 10,000 billion souls toil to serve, toil to improve, toil to defend. For in the dawning of the 42nd millennium, peace is short and rare for most. In one of these cargo passenger compartments, things are surprisingly spacey. There would be 10 people in here, but for some reason there are only 2. Somebody has paid to rent out the entire compartment for 2 individuals who have now been travelling from Persepolis to Vol. One of these individuals is a rather unassuming man. Why don't you tell us who you are, Wilkus Garn, and why you are leaving your homeworld for the very first time to travel to planet Vol?
Well, my name is Wilkus Garn. I am a former scrivener of the Adeptus Administratum, the, rather unfathomably convoluted bureaucracy which is what makes this Imperium of ours run. We keep all the wheels spinning, we log all of the different possessions and assets and supplies, make sure that the tithes are calculated properly and that the supplies are delivered on time, all those kinds of things. And yes, in Persepolis, that's where I grew up, where I learned to be a scrivener. I inherited the position, and it was good while it lasted. But the reason that I'm here is that, there's been another opportunity, one that promises to perhaps bring even greater profits, greater opportunities.
All you know is you were instructed to board this vessel, which in itself was very exciting. Going to space, not something you ever thought would happen to you. And now you've flown through the warp. The warp, the terrifying space between the stars, the home, you are told by, of course, the priests of the ecclesiarchy, of the enemies of mankind, chaos, demons, the end of all things. But unfortunately, the warp is the only way to travel. You know the horrors of the last 5 or 6, 7 years that occurred, when for some reason the warp was denied to the world. Even a planet like Persepolis was abandoned. No one able to enter the system or exit, not at least in any speed. You understand that plasma drives are very fast, and are how most ships move when they're not in the warp, but, to get to one planet in the same system can take weeks. It can take months. Years to get to even another neighbouring system, never mind systems so far away. No, warp travel is how you must move. Warp travel is how the Imperial Guard, the Adeptus Astartes, the institutions of the Empire protect it from the dark of space, from the dark of vile Xenos and malevolent forces, and those who do not live in the glory of the Emperor, heretics, insurgents. You are familiar with all these things. After all, part of your job has always been to keep an eye out for anybody who is trying to cheat the Tithe, cheat the law of the Empire, of the Imperium, and report them for execution. Or penal service. or worse.
Of course. I have an eye for detail. In fact, one of my eyes is, well, it's augmetic. But even without that, I am very, very good at going through large reams of data and finding the patterns, finding the things that stand out, and then, yes, taking action accordingly. I'm a man in my early 30s, and I wear the typical robes that someone of my faction tends to wear. I have lots of little pockets for my quills and parchments of various kinds. Yes, lots of parchments, lots of data, lots of things to keep track of. Always so many, many things to keep track of.
Yes, but you're good at it. And as always, you make sure your autoquill is working as it should. Such a marvellous device, able to write on parchment in minutes, where by hand it could take, well, longer.
Indeed. Sometimes I wonder, why parchment? There's so many... And then I stop thinking that because parchment, yes. That is what we use.
Data pads can only hold so much, and much must be written down, otherwise it would be lost and there would be no record of it. And everything must be recorded. Everything must be kept on record. At least that's what you've been taught. You do know there are some people out there who don't even have any idea how to write. Crazy. Madness.
Indeed. I don't think the Emperor will protect them. But the Emperor will protect me if I keep delivering and keep doing what I'm asked to do.
Have you enjoyed your journey through space? It's been a week in this room with this someone else. It was awfully disquieting. Sometimes, of course, a priest has come in to take you through your daily sermon, praising the Emperor of mankind, praising the Imperium, praising and praying that you will be able to serve, and of course an individual whose name you think is something like Bigsy. Something a bit silly, really. But, well, you hear that people on void ships like this have strange names. But this individual has supplied you with your daily rations of algae and recaf. Very nice having someone come and bring you the food. Normally you have to pay for it with your own ration allowance. Whoever you're working for now wants to make sure you're looked after. And you have to admit, you think this algae has a bit of flavour in it.
Yes, and that recaf, it tastes like the Persepolis recaf blend. They're really going all out here.
Yes. This individual has supplied that, and if you have wanted to chat, given you some chat, though it's not long and the individual always has to get back to work, because of course this vessel is a working man's vessel.
Yes, and I don't enjoy the travel. I much would have preferred to remain on Persepolis and continuing to work there. I know that place. I have my connections there. I mean, I have connections throughout the Adeptus Administratum, but they are certainly concentrated on that planet. And then I've had this awful headache the entire time. I don't know why.
Not to mention the dreams. A dark void consuming the entire vessel. Figures in dark hoods screaming profanities, heresies, trying to cut out your heart. And then sometimes you've gone to that single shuttered window, the only one, of course, in this cell. Each cell only has one, it only needs one. And you've imagined just opening it and seeing the blue-purple haze of the warp and letting it consume you as you scream and scream. But then you've awoken and it's just dreams. You were warned about this. You were warned there'd be dreams.
Indeed.
But yes, that disquieting headache. You're getting a bit more used to it. But it does always seem to get worse whenever you interact with the other individual. And who is this other individual sitting maybe just across from you now on the bunk bed in this small cargo cell? What do you look like and who are you?
I am Exacticus. I don't know much about myself. I know about the man called Bigsy that comes and gives us provisions. I know that I am to wait for orders and instructions. and I observe the other man from time to time in the room. I have been created for a purpose. This is what I have been told, so this is what I know. I am, as I look into something metallic, like the melee attachment on my sniper rifle, to observe myself. I have wild eyes, long, straight hair with what I must see as some dark reddish tint. My cornea has patterns to it. I have noticed this. When looking at others, they don't have these patterns on their cornea in their eyes. Mine has the pattern of what I know must be a sigil of the Adeptus Mechanicus faction, though I do not work for them. I am an acolyte of the Inquisition, and I do what I am told to do by Inquisitor Halon. My appearance, what I'm wearing, would be something that looks a bit like a long robe, otherwise quite tight-sitting clothes in what could best be described as almost hide, like leather hide, just sitting tightly. I'd like to be able to move and to feel free. I know only these things, and that suffering is an unrelenting instructor. Something that also sticks out on me are the tubes that go along my cheeks, up almost towards where my ears are sat, and that occasionally, every minute or so, give out a low wheezing sound that most people would probably just take for a machine or something, or a rustling.
These are the things you know and little else. Is it a strange feeling? There's a strange déjà vu sometimes, when that man Bigsy came in and offered you an algae bar. You knew it was an algae bar, necessary substance, for while you are blessed by metal, you still, sadly, have some of the weaknesses of flesh, and require food and sustenance. And yet, when was the first time you had a bar? Is this the first time you've had a bar? You know what it is, and yet it is a new experience. And even though you know that this man works on this void vessel, and void vessels travel the warp, and trade is vital to the Imperium, it is still the first time.
I look up at the man as he sometimes moves towards the window, and he looks out. He looks perturbed. I hear him sometimes as I wake up in the night from his noises in his sleep. He seems to suffer from something. I wonder what it is that makes him make sounds in his sleep.
Why don't you make a law check? That's your intelligence. Roll a D100 and see if you get the success levels needed to pass the test.
That is 53 over 46.
You think there is something called dreaming. You think that most humans, when they go to sleep, dream. You think, you don't know. You don't have dreams. And you don't know why he'd be dreaming. You know the warp apparently affects people. Doesn't seem to affect you. You don't know more than that.
No. I want to ask him about this.
As you're about to speak, you feel the shudder that you know on some level Exacticus means the ship is coming out of warp. To you, Wilkus, is that what happens when you come out of warp? You think so. You think you felt it 2 or 3 times. You think, Wilkus, ships like this can't make too long a jump through the warp. They don't have astropaths or navigators. They kind of only can fly on pre-planned short routes. Anything else would be dramatically dangerous and risk you getting lost in the warp. You've heard tales that sometimes ships can be lost in the warp for decades, hundreds of years, and that people can be completely and utterly destroyed, killed, or worse when they emerge. But luckily that's not going to happen to you, not on this sort of trip, right?
No, I don't want to disappear in the warp. I'll be glad when we're through this, though. I don't like to travel, and I hope once the travel is over, then this headache will also go away.
You are hopeful. On a scratchy Voxcast system that relays communication on board such a vessel, some ancient hymn plays. You're familiar with this one, Wilkus. It's a good one. You Exacticus have never heard it before, but you know it is good. It is always good to praise the Emperor, although of course you also must praise the Omnissiah, for you were chosen by the Omnissiah, chosen to serve the Imperium, but also be one of the privileged few who knows its true God. Although the Emperor is certainly a very, very important chosen one of the Omnissiah, one of the most important. This hymn plays for about 10 minutes. Very nice, lots of choral trumpets and ancient words in High Gothic that neither of you are that relevant with. You maybe know a little Wilkus Garn in your line of work, but you're not proficient truly in High Gothic. It's not a specialty, but you know some of the words. Finally, then an announcement rings out that planetary fall will be within, well, a few hours. You will soon be arriving on planet Vol. You are then going to, well, you don't know. And at that point, there's a knock on the cargo bay door to your hab unit. Bang, bang.
I'll immediately begin moving towards the door to open it. Come, I'll say.
Ah, sirs, only Bigsy, sirs, of course. He comes in, wielding a little tray. Bigsy is a typical voidborn, quite scrawny. You imagine he has never set foot on an actual planet. Artificial gravity is his home. But he moves along in his black attire, has a cybernetic eye like yours, Wilkus Garn, but it's older and busted. You don't think it even works. Your algae bars and your fresh recaf, very straight from the captain's table for special visitors. Yes.
Thank you so much, my good man. Thank you. And I'll motion towards Exacticus as well. Would you like?
Yes. I would like sustenance.
Bigsy gives you a smile, Wilkus, and then he looks at Exacticus, and he just lowers his gaze. Yes. And also, here's your other item. And he removes from the tray, carefully hidden, a large Voxcaster unit. Not a gigantic one, of course, but big enough to receive standard Vox broadcasts. He just leaves it on the ground, and without a sound just turns away and closes the door behind him. It sort of shinks shut.
Thank you, Bigsy. I'll look to Exacticus. I suppose this is for us, then. Perhaps from our employer?
Have you ordered a Voxcaster?
No, but I think Inquisitor Halon might have. I'll pick it up.
It's not doing anything right now. It's on, though, you notice. You have now this Voxcaster in your possession. You don't know what to do, Wilkus. You don't have anyone to speak to. You haven't been given any Vox channels to communicate with, not yet. But maybe you should just leave it be. It's on. Must be a reason it's here.
I'll put it in a place where it's not in the way, then. Suppose there will be some kind of transmission coming our way later on.
Yes. something will come. I say, and I sit there in the corner of the room in a bunk bed, kind of in the shady part of the room, my hair hanging down, and I'm looking up a little bit curiously, seeing if he is going to give the food to me or if I need to go and get it.
What do you do, Wilkus Garn? Your companion here, who doesn't speak often. You, of course... Actually, why don't you make a law check?
That's a 24 under 45.
You are able to work out that they clearly must belong to the Adeptus Mechanicus. Or did. They have clear augmetics on them that are not available to every citizen of the Imperium. And, well, the robe is quite classic with them. Fascinating.
Adeptus Mechanicus, I take it. Do you really need this kind of sustenance? I thought you were... Well, you were machines, is what I've heard.
No. The Adeptus Mechanicus are not machines. They are a faction, and I start talking, and probably until you interrupt me, about exactly what the Adeptus Mechanicus are and what their role in the Empire is.
I'll let you go on. I have nothing better to do, and I enjoy vast reams of data, of knowledge, trying to parse through it, trying to see how quickly you get to the point.
Exactly. He doesn't give you anything you don't know, actually. It's not, granted, stuff you're specialised in, but of course you know who the Adeptus Mechanicus are. They are vital to everything, almost as vital as you are to everything. While you do the numbers and paperwork, they run the machines, the manufactoriums, the spaceships, the guns. Your own eye was installed by a tech priest on Persepolis, and it was very important. And yes, they have to make sure they pray correctly, and they have to sway the incense around. You don't know why, but you just know that that is what is required. Otherwise, technology doesn't work.
I don't think I will ever understand quite how that works, and I don't think I'm supposed to, and that's okay. Because the Emperor protects us, and we all have a role to play. The Adeptus Mechanicus certainly do, as well as I.
And you know for a fact as well that it is highly illegal and, dare say, heretical to ask how it works, because you don't need to know that. Not unless, of course, you wish to become a member of the cult, which, of course, is fine, but you'd have to go and do it all properly and maybe have bits of you removed. You've noticed they like having bits of themselves removed, and your friend here definitely has had some bits removed.
I've removed enough of myself already with my augmetic eye. I think I have what I need now. I don't need to replace any other bits, well, unless I end up getting them blown to bits in whatever adventures await me once I will begin working for the Inquisitor. I really hope I get to keep my bits. I do quite like them.
And you, Exacticus, continue. He doesn't interrupt you. You reel off the information of the role of the Order. You, of course, know there are several things that this man must never know. He has no authorization. He has no right. He is not chosen by the Omnissiah. Although he has been given a small blessing, that mechanical eye. Maybe he could be converted, but that is not a choice you will make. You also know somewhere in the back of your mind, Exacticus, that he has said a mild heresy. But luckily for him, a mild heresy that you've corrected. You are not a machine. Machines do not have intelligence. That is one of the greatest sins of the Omnissiah, to give a machine intelligence independent of the Omnissiah. No, all machines must either serve the Omnissiah or consist at least of some element of flesh. For while flesh is weak, it is still required. It's very important to make a thinking machine unthinkable.
And I immediately feel that I like this man. This man does not interrupt, and also, this man is also modified. Not very subtly. That is good. It makes him somewhat more reliable. I flex my augmetic arm as I finish up my declaration, and I climb out from the lower bunk bed. I do not stand very tall. I am a little below average height, very thin. At least this is something that I have observed when comparing myself to others. And I go over and I collect my meal. I look at the bar and I eat it. I look at the man. You make sounds in the night while you sleep.
Oh, I wasn't aware I was doing that. Any highlights to share?
No. You seem disturbed. Is it because you dream?
Yes. There's something about the warp. Something about being here. I'm not used to it.
What is it like when you dream?
Loss of control. Your mind showing you things. You don't know why. You try to interpret it, and then you forget. And then it repeats every night. Most nights anyway. Sometimes you just don't remember. It's a very strange thing, actually. You don't dream?
No, I don't dream. I go and I sit in the bunk bed again.
And as you do so, something begins to sound on the Vox. A series of letters and numbers. You both know this code. This is an access code. One of you needs to answer back. You need to give the exact right code quickly.
Well, that sounds like something for me to do. I'm nothing if not attentive to patterns of numbers and symbols and signals and the like, so I will move to do that.
Indeed, you are skilled at this, Wilkus. And so, you do so. Authorization accepted. Greetings, acolytes. Praise the God Emperor.
Praise the God Emperor.
Praise the God Emperor.
There's a pause. The voice on the other side is scratchy even by Vox standards. Would you like to roll a tech roll, Exacticus? Make it with a plus 20.
That is a 96, so very high. Can I re-roll that in this game?
You can indeed. You could spend a point of fate. Just spend, not burn, to make a reroll.
And that means then I can I regain those at the next session, I think.
Yes, correct.
Let's do that. Then that is a 53 under 71.
You understand Vox technology. It's how people communicate with each other. Well, by Vox. There's another method far more reliable, that is the way of the astropaths and psychic communication. But that won't work on you. You don't know why you know that, but you just know that will never work for you. But you know that Voxes have ranges. Quite large ranges. A Vox can, with enough power, communicate from one end of a planet to another. In this case, this individual on the other side, is he on the ship you're on? He could be on another ship. Again, you will soon be approaching Planet Vol and be aware that there'll be several other ships taking this route, so either they're on the ship you're on, or somewhere close by. Interesting to know.
Yes. I take this information to myself, and I actually mutter it. They're not far away.
Interesting. On the ship, perhaps?
I am not on your vessel, acolytes, but well observed, Exacticus. I am indeed close. I'm sure I do not need to introduce myself. I am Inquisitor Halon, Aegidius Halon. And from this moment forward, I am your master, your lord. Second only, of course, to the Emperor. Is that understood?
Yes, my lord.
Yes, Inquisitor.
Good. Enjoying your journey, Wilkus Garn?
It is dreadful. I'm not used to warp travel. It is a weakness of mine.
A weakness you will have to purge. In the service of the Holy Ordos, you will be required to go to locations and places few dare tread. But you will go to them willingly, immediately, and you will achieve results. If you let your weakness consume you, you will die. I only hope that if you do die, it is in service to the Emperor.
I would wish nothing greater than that.
Good. You know why you are here, Acolyte. This is your training day. You will prove yourselves to me, both of you. You will prove yourselves worthy of being acolytes of the Great Inquisition. If you succeed on this mission, well, we shall see what happens. If you fail, you will be forgotten, your lives wasted. Well, perhaps not entirely wasted. No death in the name of the Emperor is truly a waste, after all. Would you not agree, Exacticus?
I agree.
Good. Good. I expect much from you, Acolyte Exacticus. You have been designed with a very specific set of skills, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in action. You will have to forgive your fellow acolyte Wilkus Garn. You might not find them the biggest on conversation.
I have found him very comforting. When he shares information, he does so comprehensively and clearly. Not everyone can do that.
Luckily, he is not entering service to be used for his people skills. That is where you come in, Wilkus Garn. You are going to use your skills from serving the Administratum now for the benefit of the greater Imperium, for the Inquisition. I hope that will not be a problem. Your loyalties no longer lie with your former employment. They only now lie with me, and of course the Emperor.
Of course.
Of course. When we have finished this conversation, you will open the compartment on the back of the Voxcaster. Perhaps, Exacticus, you would like to say some form of prayer before defiling the technology, but it is essential, I assure you. You will find a copy of my inquisitorial seal. I am sure I do not need to stress to you how important that is. Why don't you roll a Law Imperium roll, Wilkus Garn? Give yourself a plus 20.
I will have to use a point of fate there to re-roll this, because that was a 95. That is then a 31 under 65.
A copy of an inquisitorial seal. This is immense. You feel a bit of sweat. Inquisitorial seals are, well, the authority of the Inquisition itself. That is how you prove you are a member. They are all data-coded, they are scanned and confirmed, and they prove you are who you say you are. They can be used to requisition practically almost anything.
Could I hypothetically order Exterminatus on the planet Vol with this?
You could, but of course it would have to be confirmed by the actual Inquisitor. And as you're thinking that, he says, I do not need, I assume, to inform you that if this is misused in any way to exert my authority over trivial and insignificant matters, there will be significant punishments.
Understood, Inquisitor.
Does he understand, Exacticus? There are fates far worse than death, Wilkus Garn, and I will ensure you suffer them. My inquisitorial authority is to only be used in the most dire of emergencies. I want the planet to be on fire
before you even think of using it. Is that understood?
I have understood the order.
And thinking on it, due to your well, Wilkus, the exterminators you think might be a little above your authorization, and you think that would be confirmed, yes. But things like opening a door or giving us information, that's a little more reasonable.
Yes, well, that is a good ability to have, and to be able to use. Unfortunately, of course, we would have to reveal that we are with the Inquisition if we were to use that, which is sometimes an important thing to do, and oftentimes, though, not something one necessarily wishes to reveal. It's sometimes best to just simply having done the deed and no one being any wiser about, well, who was truly behind it. I suppose that's what is ultimately the best way of solving things, yes?
Indeed. You are to be shadows. You are to not even be registered by your foes until you are ready to strike with your blade in their neck. I will be watching. I will be noting your progress. I hope to barely even hear of your investigation until you report it to me. If not, there will be punishments. I do not suffer fools. So, that is my seal. You will find in the data pads that I have already given you your cover identities. You currently are 2 investigators working for the Mercator Leminen, the Chem Guild. But I will hope for amusing improvisation when it comes to making cover identities, something you will have to get good at and learn on the job. I highly recommend not walking around calling yourself Wilkus Garn and Exacticus to anybody and all sundry, not unless you want to draw attention to yourselves.
Yes, my lord.
Understood.
That is the clearance as well for the necessary security procedures on planet Vol. Keep in mind, you are still law-abiding citizens of the Empire, and you must obey the law when viewed, although, at the end of the day, in conducting inquisitorial investigations, you have authority that allows you to bypass certain things if needed. I care not what the details are, only the results, do you understand?
I understand.
Understood.
Good. For now, here is your mission briefing. I will only answer questions once, and the rest will be handled by your contact. In short, your investigation takes you to Vol. In particular, Hive Rokarth, the capital hive of Vol. You are to investigate an incident at Acid Refinery Delta 64. There has been an explosion. The entire refinery destroyed, except for a strange incident. There is said to be a sphere-like location at the center of the explosion, where while everything around it has been reduced to slag and ruin, nothing was harmed in this circular area. People are calling it a miracle of the Emperor, and witnesses say an individual was seen fleeing from the scene, which I'm sure I do not need to inform you, acolytes, should be impossible considering the entire rest of the facility and all in are very, very reduced to slag. The Adeptus Ministarum are conducting an investigation, looking into the rumors of a possible saint. I want you to find out what is going on. I want you to confirm the identity of this so-called living saint. Find out what happened. You will contact Agent Leo Winkrantz. His Vox frequency is 418115 WYRM. You will find the Vox communicator device needed to do this in an area in the lower hive known as the Phaler Hostelry. I have prepared for you a chamber there, a base of operations with basic supplies. You will journey there and communicate with the contact and begin your investigation. If this individual is a saint, well, all good for the Emperor, and I am sure the Adeptus Ministarum will do their duties well. If this is heresy, you must find it at its root and execute the individual and any of their associates if possible. All this I expect to be done with the subtlety of a whisper in the dark. You will report your progress in roughly 2 or 3 days, and we shall see where things go from there. Are there any questions, acolytes?
Not from me, Inquisitor.
I am noting down everything mentally as he goes on and talks. And I have it down with the agent that we are to communicate with and the place we are to do it from. And I think to myself that this is all that I need to know as long as I can find it.
You will make planetfall shortly, docking in one of the transport vehicles from this vessel you are currently on. You will make your way to the Mudgate, and from there, well, I expect you understand how to find your way around a hive city. Wilkus Garn. Vol is not so different from Persepolis, although I advise you take care not to breathe in too deep. They say the acid clouds are quite unpleasant.
Understood.
Are you sure there are no questions? Ignorance is strength, but incompetence is not acceptable.
Are we to expect any resistance, any other hostilities that we should know about?
If any stand against you, then yes, deal with them.
But not in the name of the Inquisition.
I have several agents. I have several acolytes and contacts on planet Vol. Phaler Hostelry is mine. But that is beyond your level of clearance. Focus on the task at hand. Investigate, adapt. I am not here to inform you of every possible heresy on the planet.
Understood. I will travel under the name of Zariel.
You can travel under whatever name you like, Exacticus. I care not. I will say Vol, of course, has its infractionist cells. I believe the Undercity, the lower hive, and below the lower hive, of course, is full of ganger scum. If they stand in your way, execute them. If not, bypass them. I care not. Although I advise not opening a full war against anything you can't handle. You are my assets, and I need you to, for now, remain alive.
We shall do just that.
Very well, then. Transmission ending. Long live the Imperium. Long may the God Emperor reign.
May the God Emperor reign, I say, and I stand up. And I go over to the Vox communicator. Did I understand correctly that it is to be destroyed?
Apparently on the back, there is a compartment, and then yes, you understood perfectly that this particular piece of technology sadly must now be decommissioned. You will need to say a hymn of remembrance and respect before this, of course.
The flesh is inferior to the perfection of the machine. All machines must serve the Omnissiah. By destroying this machine, we are claiming ourselves as inferior to the technology that it embodies, and thus we hope for forgiveness as we fulfill our duties as acolytes, And then I look up towards Wilkus to see if he wants to add something.
It's not at that. Well said. Yes, we will fulfill our duty. For the Emperor.
For the Emperor. And I flex my fingers of my archmedic arm and I press the Vox communicator down towards the floor with my full strength.
And so it begins to crush and break under your mechanical arm. But you believe the Omnissiah would be pleased. This faithful servant has done its duty well. And of course, just before crushing it, you removed the small, holographic little piece of metal. It looks so unassuming, but you know if loaded into a standard conjugator or scan unit, this will reveal the authority of the Inquisition, particularly the authority of your Inquisitor. By working with the Inquisition, you have some benefits, and one of them is the limitless authority boon. You can always use your patron's influence with the Inquisition, which is +2, to influence any other faction, instead of your own influence. However, not many people enjoy this. It is often a brute force method, and there can be consequences. Particularly, you've just been informed that your Inquisitor really wants you to be as subtle as possible. But this still could be useful in a complete and utter emergency. And so you sit back as the hours pass. You notice that the shutter now has a little light on, green as opposed to red, implying that it can now be unlocked. You could look out the window if you wanted, Wilkus. Will you? You're not in the warp anymore.
No, I will. I want to see what's out there.
Then you see the stars and Planet Vol. A murky brownish green. Planet Vol, a hive world just like Persepolis, but apparently a lot more dedicated to, well, manufacturing. You'll be making planetfall soon, departing from this vessel to another vessel, and then, yes, to the Void Buttress that will lead to the Mudgate. Then you'll be in the hive itself. But what of your mission, Wilkus Garn? What are your first thoughts? An acid refinery destroyed? There'll be certainly many unhappy people. That is vital to the Tithe. Some of it could be less than it should. The Adeptus Ministerium are investigating it as a miracle? Strange, what are you thinking?
None of this is making any sense at this stage. I need more data. More data. I need to get down on site, collect it, ask questions. That way, I will be able to come to the bottom of this. For now, it would be poor form to speculate.
I look at Wilkus as he's standing by the window, and I ask, "Are you excited? You might meet a saint."
You're right. Yes. Yes, I am. I've never met a saint before. Have you?
I have not met a saint. This could be a great moment for the Empire.
It could.
It certainly could, Wilkus. Who knows? Maybe you're about to find the next solar Macaarian. Maybe.
Maybe. You never know. That's what's so beautiful about being out in reality. Things here are unpredictable.
Indeed. And so you settle in and ready for departure, before making planetfall on Planet Vol, and beginning your investigation in the service of the Holy Inquisition of the Emperor.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play Imperium Maledictum for Warhammer 40k, which is published by Cubicle 7. The music was created by Void Stasis, Tenadii, and Gidanian, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Please check out cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more of their lovely dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Dick Thomson, Liddy, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want early access to our content and to hear raw versions of our recordings right after we've done them, or get your name announced as a champion of the Red Moon, do check out our higher level tiers on Patreon. It's a great way to get more Red Moon roleplaying in your life and to help us keep the show going. Thank you again for listening, and remember that in the grim dark future, there is only war.